Hello, and welcome to the Neglected and Delinquent Transition Services to and from the Facility presentation. My name is Dawn Carmody, and I am the Neglected, Delinquent, and At-Risk Education Consultant at the Michigan Department of Education in the Office of Educational Supports. As a team member of the Special Populations Unit, I'm excited to have you join me today to learn about key components and best practices of creating a high-quality transition services program that focuses on the children and youth transitioning between neglected and delinquent facilities and the community organizations that encourage them to continue their education or employment. So let's start off talking about what is transition. By this definition, you will see that transition programs focus on having a coordinated set of activities as well as processes that are outcome-oriented. When you develop your program has well-developed processes and activities that are fully implemented, the transition program promotes successful movement for the youth, first from the local school districts to the neglected and delinquent residential facilities when appointed by the courts, and then also on exit. Later in this presentation, you will see that the best practices that successfully support youth need to include activities and strategies through the 4 different stages of transition. Let's learn about some of the education legislation that drives the need to have successful transition programs. The first legislation we'll explore is the federal legislation called the Every Student Succeeds Act, or ESSA. Formally, this legislation has had a long history as the Elementary and Secondary Education Act, ESSA, and one of the last versions was No Child Left Behind, NCLB. We are going to focus on the Title I Part D of ESSA, which is called Title I Part D, Prevention and Intervention Programs for Children and Youth who are neglected, delinquent, or at risk. Title I Part D has 3 intent and purpose to meet the needs of the special populations of students. The first intent and purpose is improving educational services. The next is providing a successful transition. And lastly, it is to prevent youth from dropping out of school. To ensure that education and transition programs goals at the facilities are accomplished, the neglected and delinquent facility program leadership and community organizations must work together. Some community organizations that may be included are public school districts, alternate ed schools, adult education programs, higher education including colleges and universities, community employment agencies, and apprenticeship organizations or businesses. Some processes that will need to be developed and implemented include enrollment procedures, course credit attainment and transfer procedures, parent, family, community engagement processes and strategies, and communication collaboration protocols for local school districts and facility leaderships to use. In addition to the federal legislation, we have a Michigan's Consolidated State Plan under ESSA. Our state plan is a document that defines our state-level goals, objectives, and strategies for implementing ESSA in Michigan and providing transparency to parents and stakeholders. On this slide, you will see the Michigan Consolidated State Plan Title I Part D goals, as well as a few of the specific objectives pertaining to transition. In the Michigan Plan, you can find the additional assessment process and instructional opportunities objectives, as well as strategies for all the objectives. on the Michigan Department of Education website. And the link is embedded in the title of this slide. As part of our state plan, you will see transition of children and youth to and from the locally operated facilities is a state goal. Some of the priorities in Michigan is having care and education records and documentation shared in a timely manner with the court placement changes. And this should occur within 10 days of the change. Additional objectives include ensuring that when students exit a facility, they will continue in school and/or employment, which could include returning to a local public school, alternative education school, adult education program, higher education like college or university, community employment development like apprenticeships, or employment. The last state objective is to continue to implement and utilize a statewide system that ensures that youth is monitored for multiple years after release to ensure how students have successfully transitioned back into the community. So although most of the federal legislation does not explicitly include requirements or specifics regarding transition, with the exception of the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, IDEA, the legislation you see on this slide may impact your planning and implementation of a transition program. Some of the legislation you will want to keep in mind while implementing and updating your transition program includes Title VI of the Civil Rights Act, Title IX of the Education Amendments, Title II of the Americans with Disabilities Act, Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act, and IDEA, the Individuals with Disability Act. Now that we know more about the background information about relevant legislation that informs our transition programs, student needs the definition of the transition of a system of well-developed processes and coordinated activities. Let's explore who is going to be included in creating these important transition programs. You will need a variety of stakeholders to develop, implement, monitor, and evaluate these programs. The transition team needs to include representatives including the students and their parents and guardians and mentors or advocates. In addition, there should be team members from 3 other categories of stakeholders, including school personnel, the neglected or delinquent facility personnel, and community members. This slide has many examples of roles that could represent each of these categories of stakeholders. Some examples of the different roles could include school administrative assistants, school principals, teachers, transition specialists, academic advisors, juvenile probation officers, or community service providers like mental health or child welfare agency staff. For the rest of this presentation, I want to explore information from a great resource called the Transition Toolkit 3.0, Meeting the Educational Needs of Youth Exposed to the Juvenile Justice System, created by NDTAC, the National Technical Assistance Center for the Education of Neglected or Delinquent Children and Youth. This toolkit was created to support transition teams in developing, implementing, and evaluating high-quality transition programs that provided the needed services for our students. The toolkit includes additional background information, as well as strategies and resources, including some transitional program self-evaluation tools. So, what are the 4 stages of transition? Here on this slide is a diagram to demonstrate some of the pathways each youth may experience through the transition process between the facility and community. Each youth is going to experience transition differently due to the many variables from their life and the institutions they are involved in, including home, school, facility or treatment, employment, community experiences, and more. The 4 stages are entry into the facility, residency, exit from the facility, and aftercare. In the next few slides, we are going to think about the different tasks and/or processes that each stakeholder group should be involved in during these stages. At each of the 4 stages of transition, there is going to be a coordinated series of activities that will lead to a successful transition at that stage. We can explore the activities or tasks by breaking them into various stakeholder groups, as the slides will demonstrate. So let's look at stage 1, entry first. Look at some of the processes and tasks that the facility leaders will implement, including requesting records, conducting intake assessment, assembling a transition team, developing or revising a transition plan, providing evidence-based programming for the whole child, and monitoring the youth's progress. The next 2 stakeholders groups you will want to consider is the youth themselves and the family or mentors and advocates. When thinking about entry stage activities for the youth and the family, you really want to consider facility orientation, communication during intake interviews, ongoing conversations including goal setting for academics, care, and transition are going to be key, as well as ensuring evidence-based programming and family engagement and supports are available. The last stakeholder group that needs to be included is the community. While engaging the community during the entry stage, key tasks will be seeking community records and information, increasing interagency awareness, and including community stakeholder input in transition. We're going to continue to go on in the next couple of slides. We are going to explore the activities at each transition stage by including tasks to involve the same stakeholder groups you see on the slide. So stage 2, residency. Let's explore a couple of key tasks for each stakeholder group. These slides will be available in the digital folder that will be shared with you at the end of the presentation for you to do a deeper read later. While providing evidence-based programming, the facility leaders will continue to have transition team meetings, monitor the youth's progress and update records, revise transition plans as needed, and provide pre-release transition training. The youth will participate in the transition team, the evidence-based programming being provided for them, and the pre-release training. The family may be offered programming and/or family counseling or therapy, and should continue to participate in two-way communication to provide input on the transition plan. And lastly, in stage 2 with residency, you want to involve the community still. With the community, you will continue to provide input. They will provide input into the transition plan while establishing community transition procedures, interagency agreements, and opportunities for community engagement. Stage 3 of transition is exit from incarceration or from the facility. Let's look at a couple of key tasks for each stakeholder group. The facility leaders will prepare records and transcripts, continue to have transition team meetings, monitor the youth's progress, revise transition plans as needed, and connect the youth with service providers. The youth will participate and have increased participation with the transition specialist and coordinator and the transition team. They will seek external mentors and peer supports and increase involvement with probation or court-appointed staff. The family may continue to be offered family counseling or therapy, prepare for the youth's return back to home, make support systems available, and should continue to participate in two-way communication to provide input on the transition team decisions. And don't forget about the community. The community will provide records and information, conduct pre-release visits, coordinate opportunities for engaging youth in the community, and increase interagency awareness. The final stage, stage 4 of transition, is aftercare. Let's explore a couple of the key tasks for each stakeholder group. The facility leaders will define successful youth engagement, continue to have transition team meetings and communicate, revise the transition plan as needed, and monitor and track youth's progress after they've left the facility. The youth will know how to be engaged based on that facility definition. They meet with and communicate with the transition team and specialist. They implement the transition plan, participate in the community program or employment, which could be various educational programs or apprenticeships, and meet the terms of the probation or parole. The family may continue to be offered family resources, counseling, and therapy, and should continue to participate in two-way communication and provide input on the transition plan. And lastly, the community will continue to provide input and communicate about transition plans while increasing interagency awareness, sharing resources, and defining engagement. Now that we've explored the key stakeholders and the 4 stages of transition, let's review some of the effective transition practices. It is important that the transition planning begins at the first contact and that there is high level of engagement by all stakeholders: youth, facility leadership, family, and community during the development and the implementation of the transition plans. Transition support services and processes need to be culturally and linguistically competent and well monitored. Since it is people, our human capital, that drive the success of programs and processes, it is very important to have well-trained staff who are sufficiently funded, as well as a dedicated transition coordinator to oversee the process. With all programs, the need to monitor and evaluate the supports and services within the system is necessary to ensure that the students' needs are being met and the desired outcomes are being achieved. Using the continuous improvement process for this type of evaluation will ensure that your program is being successful and the data is demonstrating the efficiency and effectiveness of the student supports. Appendix A of the Transition Toolkit 3.0 is a self-study and planning tool template that can assist a continuous improvement team or a transition team to rate their level of implementation and their priority level for some key strategies on a 5-point scale from not currently implementing to constantly implemented. This is located in the right side of the template, as demonstrated on the screenshot on the slide. The strategies are broken into 5 sections, including a general section and then a section for each of the 4 stages: entry, residency, exit, and aftercare. This slide shows us the first page of the template from the toolkit. A team can use the whole appendix to help evaluate their transition program or specific stages within their program that they want to celebrate or improve upon. So we are coming towards the end of our presentation, and I wanted to provide for you some additional resources that you may find useful while implementing and updating your transition program. Some of the resources include research articles, guiding principles about education programs, some student resources, as well as the toolkit. I want to thank you for joining me today to learn about the neglected and delinquent transition services to and from the facility. I want to also extend a warm thank you to the NDTAC team for creating and updating the Transition Toolkit 3.0 and making it available to all of our states in the USA, and previously participating also in our Michigan Special Populations on joint projects. Please feel free to reach out to the MDE Special Populations Unit team. Our neglected and delinquent team is always ready to help out and follow up with any questions that you may have. Thank you so much for joining me, and have a great day.